This story shows exactly why people advise that you treat every friend you haven't kept in touch with for years as a stranger, because you may not know what has changed in them during those years apart. It also shows that many murder suspects in Nigerian prisons are totally innocent, saving time for crimes they did not commit, while the real killers walk free. On Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026, 17-year-old Thompson Adams left his family home with excitement in his heart. He told his sister Precious that he was going to visit his primary school friend, someone who had been inviting him over for years. The friend's name was Elijah Hope Emmanuel, and they had recently reconnected on social media after losing touch for many years. Thompson and Elijah had been classmates at Army Day School in Ikeja Cantonment, Lagos State, Nigeria, but Thompson had only spent one term at that school before his family moved. Despite this short time together, Elijah claimed to remember Thompson very well and had been reaching out to him repeatedly, inviting him to visit. Thompson had declined this invitation several times before, but on this day, he finally decided to accept. Elijah had recently moved to the Abraham Adesonya area in Awoyaya, which was close to where Thompson's family lived. Thompson did not have the specific address, but he told his family that he was going to see his primary 6 schoolmates. He took a large power bank with him, ensuring his phone would not die while he was out. At around 2 p.m., Thompson left home, looking forward to reconnecting with an old friend. He had no idea that he was walking into a carefully planned trap. As evening approached around 5 p.m., Thompson's sister Precious tried calling him. His phone rang twice, then suddenly switched off. This was odd and worrying. Thompson had taken that massive power bank specifically to keep his phone charged, so why would it die so suddenly? The family grew increasingly concerned as the hours passed. They hoped Thompson was simply staying over at his friend's place and would call them soon. But despite their hopes, they could not reach him all night. His phone remained off, silent and unreachable. At about 4 a.m., something changed. Thompson's phone started ringing again when they called, but still, no one answered. The phone would ring and ring, but Thompson would never pick up. At this point, it was clear that something was very wrong. On Thursday morning, around 10 or 11 a.m., Thompson's sister went to the police station to officially report him missing. While she was at the station filing the report, the family received a message from Thompson's phone number. The message gave them instructions to download an app. It also stated that Thompson had been kidnapped. Soon after, the family was informed that the kidnappers were demanding a ransom of 150 million naira, an enormous sum of money. The family knew they did not have anywhere near that amount, but they were desperate to save Thompson. They paid the police for additional efforts to track Thompson's SIM card, hoping technology could lead them to their son. With the help of the Lagos State Anti-Kidnapping Squad, police succeeded in tracking the kidnappers. The investigation led them to Ikorodu, specifically to Lucky Fiber area, where on Monday, April 27, at about 8 p.m., operatives arrested 2 suspects. The suspects were identified as 23-year-old Elijah Hope Emmanuel and 21-year-old Tony Ojenata. When police arrested them, they made a horrifying discovery. The suspects were wearing Thompson's clothes. During interrogation, the suspects confessed to everything. What they revealed was beyond evil. They admitted they had been watching Thompson since he was a child, targeting him because they believed his family was wealthy. Elijah had known that Thompson's father was a retired soldier and thought the family had money. The plan had been for Elijah, being Thompson's previous schoolmate, to lure him to their apartment. They would kidnap him, demand ransom from his supposedly rich family, collect the money and release him. That was the plan, but it went terribly wrong. Tony confessed that when Thompson arrived at the apartment, Elijah welcomed him warmly. They spoke about their days at the Army Cantonment School, reminiscing about their school days together. Thompson had absolutely no idea what was about to happen to him. While they talked, Elijah and Tony were chatting on WhatsApp, coordinating their attack. They were playing loud music to mask what they were about to do. They had prepared weapons, a cutlass for Tony and a stick with nails hammered into it for Elijah. When the time came, Tony brought out the weapons. His job was to say words that would scare Thompson, to inject fear into him. They forced Thompson to sit on the ground. They bound his legs with chains and padlocks they had bought specifically for this purpose. They made videos and took pictures of him, planning to send this to his family to prove they had him. But then, something changed. Elijah called Tony into another room and explained a problem. Thompson knew him. Thompson knew his family, knew his aunts, knew everything about him. If they released Thompson after collecting the ransom, Thompson would definitely report them to the police, and that would lead to their arrest. Elijah told Tony they needed to silence Thompson. Tony agreed. In that moment, they sealed Thompson's fate. they turned off the lights. Tony went behind Thompson and choked him, holding him for about a minute until he grew tired. Elijah then took over, continuing to choke Thompson while Tony rested. When Thompson finally went quiet, they confirmed he was dead. But they had a problem. Thompson's body was too heavy to carry easily, so they tied him up, folding his body so it would fit into the large Ghana must-go bag they had bought earlier. They struggled, but eventually got him into the bag and zipped it up. They needed to dispose of the body in a place they knew very well, somewhere they would not get caught. They decided on a location along the community road. Tony lifted the bag onto Elijah's head and they went outside. To avoid suspicion, they also carried Tony's music production equipment, making it look like they were going for a regular work job. They hired 2 commercial motorcycles. Tony sat between the bag containing Thompson's body and the bike man, trying to control the bag during the ride. When they reached a suitable spot in the bush, they waited until no one was around. Then, they dragged the bag into the vegetation, unzipped it, and pulled out Thompson's body. They took the empty bag back home with them. This all happened between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Wednesday, April 22nd. Thompson had been dead for hours before his family even started seriously worrying about him. The next day, the killers returned to their parents' homes in Ikorodu. That was when they started making ransom demands using Thompson's phone. They called his family, demanding 150 million naira. Thompson's mother picked the call and begged them. She offered 50 million naira. The suspects ended the call, excited and believing that this confirmed the family was rich. They called again, and this time, Thompson's sister answered. She explained that their mother had only mentioned 50 million naira out of fear and panic. In fact, the stress had made their mother so sick that she was now in the hospital. The sister offered 5 million naira. The killer started to realize the family was not as wealthy as Elijah had claimed. They argued among themselves. Eventually, they negotiated down to 3 million, then to 200,000 naira. The family said they had spent money on hospital bills for the mother and could only manage 200,000 naira. The suspects agreed to collect the 200,000 naira through an OPay account. Tony went alone to a POS operator to collect the money in 2 installments of 100,000 naira each. But while he was collecting the money, police were already closing in. When Tony got home after collecting the 200,000 naira, he tried to call Elijah, but the phone did not go through. Unknown to him, Elijah had already been arrested. As Tony stood near his home pressing his phone, he saw a car approaching, a vehicle he had never seen in that area before. The anti-kidnapping squad had found him. They pretended to ask for directions and then arrested him. They brought him to his apartment and reportedly shot him in the leg to prevent escape. During further interrogation, the suspects revealed something even more disturbing. This was not their first murder. They confessed to killing a female victim on November 30th, 2025. As a matter of fact, the death of Thompson was a direct result of the first murder they both committed. According to their confession, Tony had lured a commercial sex worker to the same apartment in Awoyaya. After bringing her to the house, they killed her and contacted her family, demanding ransom. The family reportedly paid 300,000 naira, but the suspect still murdered the girl after collecting the money. They also sold her phone and shared the proceeds. But Elijah felt cheated by Tony and decided to bring his own victim, who would end up being Thompson. They had disposed of her body just few meters away from their house, dumping it in the same general area where they would later dump Thompson's body. But here was the tragedy. When that girl's body was found in November 2025, police arrested a man who lived in the vicinity. That innocent man was charged with her murder and was currently awaiting trial in one of Nigeria's correctional facilities. An innocent person was imprisoned for a crime committed by Tony and Elijah. It makes us wonder how many others like him were sitting in cells across Nigeria, accused of murders they did not commit, while the real killers remained free. After the suspects confessed and revealed where they had dumped Thompson's body, police went to the location with the family, and Thompson's body was eventually recovered and deposited in a mortuary. When Thompson's relatives saw the suspects, especially seeing them wearing their brother's clothes, they broke down completely. The pain was unbearable. The 2 suspects now face murder charges. The evidence against them is strong. They confessed on camera. They showed the police where they disposed of the bodies. They admitted to planning and executing 2 separate murders. But there is another victim in this case who needs attention. The innocent man sitting in prison, awaiting trial for the November 2025 murder he did not commit. We now call on the police to revisit that first murder case. With the real killers now in custody and having confessed, that innocent man must be exonerated and released immediately. If you made it this far, please like, share and subscribe to this channel or page for more true crime stories.